The number one reason insurance denies roof claims, it's not what you think. Insurance companies aren't denying your claim because you don't have damage. They're denying it because they don't have documentation. This is why we use drones, AI technology, satellite imagery, and just good old roofing experience to document everything that might be wrong with your roof. You as a homeowner need a roofer with documentation standards. Call Absolute Restoration. Let us come and inspect, document, and present.
Mississippi's trusted weather experts. This is Mississippi Live Weather at 5.
New work week is here, and that means we are in for another cold forecast. Yeah, we are in December. We expect it, but at least our Monday has been beautiful with those blue skies. But cold forecast in place tonight. Welcome into Mississippi Live Weather at 5. I'm meteorologist Gabe Maynor, joined alongside our chief meteorologist Matt Laupon. And Matt, I'm always jealous of you doing this parade coverage because you get to be out in the community, see all the pretty sounds and lights. But tonight, I think I'm comfortable where I'm at here in the studio because it's so warm in here.
It is pretty toasty in there. The extra computers keep it extra warm in there. But, you know, honestly, it's not that bad out this evening. We're in Shannon as we're going to be wrapping up our coverage of the parades of North Mississippi, our Christmas Parade tour here brought to you by MLM Clothiers. Not a lot of activity yet. The Shannon Parade starting at 7 p.m. And as you would imagine, on a day as cold as today has been, after a night as cold as last night was, that conditions are probably keep folks out of the way at least until a little closer to parade time. You can see behind me here, got some funnel cakes, got some other things ongoing to kind of entertain folks here. If we go high above right now using the Mississippi Live drone, we are out and we are at Shannon High School at this point here. That's where they're kind of doing the parade lineup for this parade at this point in time, kind of looking down right over top of our area. Live drone, we are not a lot of folks there, showing up and about at this point. As we kind of pan this just a little bit, you can see that, again, we're at the high school. Expect that parade to start lining up here within the next little bit. It has certainly been a beautiful day. If you just talk about how clear it has been. Of course, if you want to dwell on the fact it's cold, there's no question that it absolutely has been pretty cold out there. As we kind of swing things eventually back out there, kind of up and toward the horizon, you'll notice again those mostly clear skies that have largely been the story for today that have helped those temperatures to get rather cool, and like we'll continue to keep them fairly cool as we go into this evening. So as you'd imagine, parades are going to be cold, somewhere between cold and very cold out here this evening. You'll notice, of course, Tuesday's going to start cold, but that's the last of our below freezing days as we are a lot more mild going forward beyond your Tuesday. And better days are ahead. Better being a relative term. Of course, some people absolutely like the cold weather. If you're one of those folks, well, then we've had that for you the last couple of days. But certainly if you've wanted warmer, we have that coming up as well. 36 current temperature. Feels like 32 degrees at this moment. Our dew point coming in 13. A sign that the air remains very dry. One of the factors that will kind of impact us later this week on whether or not we're able to end up seeing more meaningful moisture from our next round of precipitation, or whether or not it ends up being some storm chances as well, will come down to that dew point eventually and the way that ends up playing out. You can see here again this evening, it is rather cool, coming in 36 degrees into below 36 Amory. No one below freezing at this moment. The Tunica hovering just 1 degree above that threshold out there in Cleveland, about 2 degrees above that at 34 degrees at this instant. Our forecast for the first 12 has us in the 20s, working our way gradually, as you can see there, through the low 20s by 3 o'clock in the morning, probably mid-20s by the first part of early tomorrow morning. So again, expecting those conditions to remain, again, mostly clear. That will help those temperatures to be fairly cool to begin your Tuesday morning. Mississippi Live Weather Radar, kind of on the close scan there. No precipitation showing up on the latest scans here in and around North Mississippi at this moment in time. High pressure is our story. The cold air with that has certainly settled in. We've had that the last couple days. That is what has largely locked us into colder temperatures. But as it moves farther back to the east, we start to get that clockwise flow around it. Get my direction there correct? There we go. Nope, that was counterclockwise. Clockwise. It's backward and reversed on the screen there, so that's what's hard for me to get it. Either way, it's clockwise flow. That gets us warm air from the Gulf of Mexico, and that starts the process of us getting mild, bringing in more moisture. Nothing back to the north and west, so no additional fronts. So as we start bringing in more moisture, eventually later this week, that probably starts bringing some rain and possibly storm chances. Now, I think some strong storms, not an impossibility, Those would probably be mostly south of Jackson, based on what we're looking at this point here, but certainly have to watch it with dew points, measure moisture. They're getting in the 60s later this week. That always remains a possibility that we could get into that kind of a pattern. But our high pressure center is still clear as we go into tonight. And those mostly clear skies again continuing in the first part of the overnight hours there, 10 p.m., 11. You can see a little bit of cloud cover down there south, close to Natchez, out southwest of Yazoo City. Mainly high and thin clouds showing up there with that. Kind of the first sign that our pattern shifts a little bit more as opposed to bringing in another one of these big cold fronts like we've had the last few days. So from 23 in the morning, we're 49 by noon. That does mean that while I think some folks still probably need to keep that faucet dripping for tonight, this is hopefully the end of that kind of extreme cold like we've had the last couple of days. With mid-50s on the way for tomorrow afternoon, still below our normal for this time of the year, but at least getting closer to that threshold that we would hopefully anticipate. And more on that, again, coming up with our meteorologist, Gabe Maynard, here in a couple of minutes. It's coming up in 60 seconds. He'll be looking at some of those rain and storm chances later this week. It's a little early to really dissect how heavy those will end up being. We'll start looking ahead again toward that shift in the pattern there. And maybe the thing people are most excited about, the fact that we're warming up quite a bit more. We're tracking just how much more as Mississippi Live weather continues here from the Room to Room Weather Center back at the studio. I'm in Shannon. Christmas Parade coming up at 7. We'd love to see you out here. I know a lot of folks in the community would as well as we wrap up our Christmas Parade Tour 2025 brought to you by MLM. Of course, the latest on your forecast coming up right after this.
When choosing a dentist for our family, Tupelo Smiles was the answer for us. They greet us with warm smiles right when we walk in the door, and they make us feel so welcome. We love Tupelo Smiles.
Give the gift of a delicious burger from Bulldog Burger, a soup and sandwich from Sweet Pepper's Deli, appetizers and cocktails from The Grill, or even a wood-fired steak from Harvey's. Choice is the perfect gift. An all-in-one gift card from Eat With Us.
You wonder how they're going to experience the real world in real safety, where all kids are welcome and everyone has a path forward to new skills, advancement, leadership, something they will carry with them the rest of their lives.
Right now, from the Room to Room Weather Center, here's meteorologist Gabe Maynard.
While those temperatures were cold, the skies were stunning all day long. 36 degrees here in the Tupelo area. Feels like 32 as well. Those dew points, yeah, if you want something that tells you it's a dry forecast, the dew points say that complete story. 12 degrees, meaning that we're not expecting anything in the round of moisture here in North Mississippi. Not just there in Tupelo, but even as we go up I-22, up there towards the Blue Springs area. This looking north, our other parade happening tonight is up in Ashland. That is kicking off at 7 o'clock. 36 degrees in Blue Springs and maybe even a few degrees colder as we look up north. But I mean, you see those sunsets there. It is a beautiful night across North Mississippi. Perfect for those parades if you can withstand those cold temperatures. Shannon, clear, dry, everything you want heading into those parade forecasts. And as we go up north there towards Ashland, Benton County going to be a cold one for sure, but everywhere along Highway 4 and Highway 5 looking good to go. So anyone that wants to get out and about and enjoy potentially getting some candy, well, that's going to be a good forecast for it. All across North Mississippi, though, if you're heading out this Monday evening, looking like a phenomenal forecast once again, and those clear and dry pattern, that will stick around overnight, but so will those cold temperatures. As we look at temperatures across North Mississippi, we're seeing 35 in Tupelo, so already seeing that temperature recede just a bit. 40 Louisville, 42 Eupora, 40 in Grenada, and 40 around Chula. Matt mentioned a little bit colder out there towards Tunica, so layer up tonight. That's the message we're sending here from the Room to Room Weather Center. But let's expand it out. Let's talk about the good news with the forecast. Yes, it's cold in North Mississippi right now. It's cold all across the southeast compared to what we'd usually see this time of year. But as we keep going up north, you can see that cold is starting to recede, go up there towards the northeast, and bring in a little bit more of those mild conditions. Mild, relatively speaking. We're not going to be in the 20s like what will be tonight. But as we get into that extended pattern, 40s, 50s back into the forecast, and potentially some 60s moving into that midweek time frame, but we're not going to be there tonight. Tonight is still a cold pattern with 37 degrees by 5, 34 by 6, and below freezing by 7 o'clock, right when those parades are happening in Ashland and Shannon. So layer up. It is going to be a cold one. Walking out the door this morning, I mean, all of my digits felt like they were about to fall off. They were being frozen so bad with those temperatures. So honestly, We're not in the teens. Again, we're looking at it from an optimistic point of view, and I will say that this is much better than where things were this morning. Things trending in the right direction. Let's expand it out and talk about Futurecast. And as Matt was talking about, high pressure has been the big story, will continue to be the big story as those dry conditions persist. So 10 o'clock tonight, not seeing anything in our skies, no rain, no cloud cover. We're sticking with those clear conditions. Potentially a little bit more breezy out west along the Mississippi River, but that's going to bump those temperatures down maybe a degree or two, but overall the pattern pretty calm here in North Mississippi, so that wind chill not going to be overbearing, but those temperatures already pretty cold, they're going to do the damage themselves. So low to mid 20s heading out the door tomorrow morning, getting a better visual on that with our low temperature graphic right here. As you can see, 25 Oxford, 24 New Albany, 24 Houston, 23 Columbus, 24 Kosciuszko, and 27 around Belzona. So 30s? Yeah, we'll take it for sure, but when we're talking 40s, 50s, 60s in that extended pattern, that just makes you really appreciate what's to come and really be ready to get these temperatures on out of the forecast. I know that's for me personally. I love the cold, but cold whenever there's no snow or anything like that, it's just, is it worth it? I don't know. It just depends on who you are, I guess. But for me personally, that is my bias. Wind chill potentially dropping folks out west down into the teens for those feels like values. But the rest of us with that calm wind over the top, not going to necessarily drop those feels like values to anything too extreme. But 20s are already a cold forecast. So layer up, heading out to the school bus. I know this is the final week of school for a large part of us here in North Mississippi. So enjoy that final week, at least shaping up for a beautiful forecast in the sky. But 3-4 layers and some hot hands, yeah, essential heading out the door tomorrow morning to the bus stop. Drop off 52 degrees, so at least we are trending better into the afternoon with those low 50s returning. Excited about that forecast for sure. All right, let's expand it out and talk about that extended pattern. And as Matt was hinting at, tomorrow morning, we'll start to get a little bit of that cloud cover returning to the forecast. That's as those winds have shifted to a southerly direction, bringing back that Gulf moisture. And of course, those Gulf temperatures, which are a little bit warmer as well. So cloud cover will start to build in. These are going to be those high-end cirrus clouds, so not blanketing the sky, but a little bit more coverage than what we had today or what we had on our Sunday. So that'll start to move in by 10:30 on our Tuesday, gradually moving into the area more by the afternoon, and that is again going to become more dense as the day goes on, but no chance of rainfall in that forecast. This is by 1:30 on your Tuesday, 3 o'clock, same pattern, but that cloud cover gradually building, so by the time we get into that late afternoon time frame, then you're getting more of that blanket in the sky. But fortunately for us, all of that moisture remains out there towards northeast Texas. Here in North Mississippi, just going to be those partly to mostly cloudy skies. That continues to be the forecast into our Tuesday evening, but that moisture ends up being a friend of ours whenever it comes to those overnight forecasts because it doesn't allow any of the daytime heat that's going to move in Tuesday afternoon to escape. So high temperatures, 53 New Albany, 50 in Booneville, 50 around Senatobia, jump down south with 55 Kosciuszko, 54 Louisville, and 54 Columbus and Starkville. So all of this heat that we're going to be getting Tuesday afternoon, blanketed by that cloud cover, and that's not going to allow us to cool off too much overnight. Along with that, those southerly breezes, that's some of that warmer air that's pushing into the area. This, as our models have flipped, this is our strike model, some of the long trek models compared to the HRRR. HRRR a little bit higher on those that cloud coverage, but the strike model, we're seeing that just a bit. So still some thin clouds, but we're not really expecting much in the form of that dense blanket of cloud cover overnight. Just maybe enough to trap a little bit of that heat. So Wednesday morning, we're waking up, heading out the door, potentially a few pop-up showers there along the Mississippi River and even up there towards the Tennessee state line. But as we head through the day, those chances push further east into the rest of us here in North Mississippi. So by noontime, don't be surprised if you hear a sprinkle or two as you head about any of those afternoon plans. That lingering in the forecast, and if we expand it out, you can see that this is just the result of some of that moisture returning to the forecast before a front pushes through the region that's really going to dry things off. It will in the extended forecast, but bring us extended rain chances on our Thursday. So Wednesday evening, still going to be this isolated pattern, but more to come on the back end as we work into our Thursday due to that frontal system pushing into the region. And as you can see, Thursday by 1 a.m., if I expand it out, you can see that front right overhead of Kansas City, Oklahoma City, and Lubbock, Texas, pushing in that southeast direction and will be our forecast, yes, with a few rumbles possible along that line by the time we get into our Thursday afternoon time frame. We're going to be breaking that down coming up tonight at 6 in a little bit more detail, but that's really what we're anticipating next as our big weather maker. Of course, isolated chances on Wednesday going to be something we need to prepare for, but it goes from a cold, dry forecast to a slightly warmer and slightly more stormy type pattern. So high temperatures on your Wednesday, again, that heat going to be sticking around, not going to be taking a break anytime soon. With 58 degrees Houston, 60 still showing up in Eupora, Starkville, Columbus, 62 Kosciuszko, and 61 towards Belzona. So it is going to feel so much better. And luckily, those warming conditions will stick around into the weekend as well. Ole Miss taking on Tulane in the first round of the college football playoff. An early look at that matchup. It's going to be 2:30 on your Saturday, right when you want it to be in winter, because it's not going to be too cold. 60 degrees by that first play, 59 by halftime, and 60 towards that final snap. Enough to have a layer, but I don't think we need multiple layers as we get into that Saturday forecast. There will be some cloud cover building into the area with potential for some showers on our Sunday and Monday, but I think we're looking pretty good for our kickoff against the Tulane. What are they? Are they the Green Wave? Tulane Green Wave? I have to look at chat and see if someone knows that. I will look it up behind the scenes after this. But yeah, hopefully the Ole Miss Rebels take care of business. But as you look at that extended pattern, Wednesday, limited moisture, cloud cover, of course, building throughout the day. Then Thursday, 40% coverage. Yeah, that's going to be that front that extends all the way through the area as it pushes on through. Don't be surprised if you hear a rumble of thunder or two. Watching for those dew points. And again, we'll be breaking this down at the 6 o'clock hour for that potential strong storm threat. We do expect that to be further south along the Gulf Coast, but how far north does that threat get? We'll be looking at that in more detail with the latest rounds of those models. Friday, things dry up and temperatures do drop as a result of that front, but don't worry. We're not seeing the extreme cold return. It warms right back up heading into Saturday, and for those kickoffs, it is going to be a good forecast. 61 degrees by the afternoon before more rain chances push in early next week. We also will get an update on that Christmas preview coming up at 6 o'clock, so you want to stay tuned for the latest on all of those forecasts, as that's really where the big stories are being held. But we'll be talking about all of that and answering some of your questions as well coming up here from the Room to Room Weather Center later on. But we will also talk to our chief meteorologist, Matt Laupon, coming up at 6 o'clock. He is live at the Shannon Christmas Parade, telling us the latest on current conditions and how the vibes are out there. I know it's immaculate, kind of wrapping up our Christmas Parade coverage, and it's unfortunate. It's been such a fun journey. It's so fun getting to see you guys out and about. So make sure to tune in at 6 o'clock to see the very latest edition of our Christmas Parade coverage. That, of course, kicks off at 6 o'clock. But if you want to tune in, make sure to have that Mississippi Live weather app handy. It will keep you updated on all those current conditions, all those temperatures, as well as that extended forecast into the rest of this week and with those rain chances Thursday. So you'll want to have it to keep updated on the very latest when it comes to the weather here in North Mississippi. Our next broadcast does happen at 6 o'clock. Been hinting at that a couple of times. So it is going to be a good forecast for it. But it is going to be a cold one, and that's what we're going to be breaking down in more detail at 6 as well as at 10 o'clock tonight. And then the story becomes a warmer but a stormier pattern. We'll be talking the latest details on that tonight at 6.
Whether it's our stories, the warmth of our laugh, or our family's secret sauce, we all bring something different to the table. So make some space. The power of connection is waiting right outside your comfort zone. Learn how you can help strengthen your community at belongingbeginswithus.org/teamup.